Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the brand new evolutions that have gone live in the most recent update. So one of the most enjoyable aspects of Pad is the fact that older cards are oftentimes buffed or given new evolutions to give them a bit more viability and possibly breathe some life back into them. As a result, there are occasions where some of these older cards find themselves being heavily used once again, and it's this cyclic nature of Pad that does kind of make it much more enjoyable because you may have pulled something that was useful in the past and it falls out of favor, but then in the future it becomes helpful once again. But either way, I'm going to be taking this time to talk about all of the new evolutions that have gone live in North America. So the first evolution is Eschamali. So Eschamali has been completely overhauled as a card because she now has 777 combo and double attacker killer while also having the ability to take attacker killer latents. So needless to say, she's incredibly effective against attacker killer spawns, but in that same breath, there are not that many attacker spawns truly available for her to really be taken fully advantage of. But on the bright side, she does come with at least a cloud resist through Super Awakenings, and her active skill will give you 99 turns of Dark Skyfalls. And that's incredibly powerful for any mono dark team because you're helping ensure a steady flow of Dark Orbs. Because if we're going to just assume that every orb has an equal chance of appearing, there is a 1 in 6 chance for dark to appear. So that's what, 16.7%. Tack on another 7%. We're at 23 and a bit. Point being is you're nearly 1 out of 4 chance for a dark orb to appear. So that's a reasonably healthy amount of time. So it can be a great way to ensure your mono dark teams have access to this. And because she is only a 6-star Godfest exclusive and an older card, there is a strong likelihood that many players have at least one copy of her. So this could be their first 99 turn Skyfall buff, which can be meaningful. On the drawback side, she doesn't have Devil Killer, so if you're planning to use her on your Yugi teams, you're going to be disappointed. But if you do have Eva Unit 1 or Friend does, and you were able to build teams around that condition, you can utilize her on that team and take advantage of those 99 turns of Dark Skyfalls. As a leader, the damage reduction looks appealing, but you need 3 or more dark combos, and that's not going to happen on a regular basis. And without that, you're going to have no effective health and therefore go. The next card is Super Reincarnated Pandora. And Pandora retains her devil typing as she always has, which is great for Yuki teams. She does come with multiple rows, she has reasonably strong VDP potential, and she comes with 5 effective skill boosts because she has a single turn of haste through her active. Now, that is quite meaningful because Yugi teams want to transform as soon as possible, and with 5 effective skill boosts, she is a perfectly valid candidate for your teams. Furthermore, that super blind resist can open up additional team compositions because you now have the ability to counteract all blind attacks with her. And the fun doesn't stop there. While she is definitely a powerful sub, you can utilize her as a leader to pair with Yugi because she does want to use devil types as well. Now, I want to go out and say that she is not the best Yugi pairing available. She is viable for sure, but if you have stronger options available or you own Yugi, you probably won't want to go out of your way to pair with Pandora. But if you're like myself who has none of these options, Pandora might be a great way to play with Yugi on 6x5. Just be aware that Pandora does not have any skill bind resists, which is like a Fortress Dragon, so I guess in theory you could replace a Fortress Dragon with a Pandora if you can accommodate the lack of 1 additional skill boost, and you would still be in the same skill bind resist situation as before, but you have more rows, more VDP damage, and super blind resist, and I like that active skill. I think it's helpful being able to generate hard orbs so you can heal and deal damage at the same time. Next is Super Reincarnated Shiva, and Shiva has Super Poison Resist, 4 skill boosts, and it can be 5 effective skill boosts if you can leverage that 75% damage reduction through their active skill. They also have double 7 combo and a Dragon Killer, so they're definitely well suited to killing dragon type spawns. But the main problem I find with Shiva as a whole is that it's hard for them to surpass other options. Yes, he does have nice skill boosts, he does have poison resist, super poison resist, reasonably strong personal damage, but the active skill I feel leaves quite a bit to be desired because on a 7-turn cooldown, it's not super long, but it's also not super short, so it's difficult to inherit over top of it. But unless you're using it to transform, I feel like the 75% damage reduction shield is going to be incredibly situational. There are not many cases where you need to have that amount of damage reduction for fire-based teams, so it may not necessarily come to fruition all the time, so to speak. And that can definitely be problematic because right now the meta is definitely heavily dominated by fire transforming leaders, and they want skill boosts. And then is Shiva going to be able to surpass things like Duval or Polon? It all comes down to what your individual monster box can leverage, but I feel that because of his active skill being that much weaker, does put him at a distinct disadvantage compared to other options available. For Shemesh, I'm kind of struggling to find a true valuable use for her, so if you do know a way to abuse them in a more efficient manner than I do, please let me know in the comments below. But their active skill is a 20 turn cooldown, which can be offset by skill charge, but it will give you a 30% gravity, fully clear all unable to match orb effects, and fully remove all bind and awoken binds. So that is a reasonably powerful active skill. It's countering quite a few important stuff, but that gravity aspect is hindering her overall because it's most likely not going to be truly needed. Like, the only things that don't really die in one hit are things with super resolve, obviously, and things in Sure Realm that just have too much effective health that multiple damage caps won't kill them. So that gravity is probably going to be wasted, and the fact that it's a 20 turn cooldown, which means you have to hit skill charge repeatedly to really make it viable, is going to be a bit of a setback, especially if you're relying on this type of active skill for all your unable to match orb effects or bind clearing needs. And as a result, I feel like it's going to be hard to find a dedicated place to use her on. The super jam resist, while helpful, is not necessarily something you try and strive for all the time. So I feel like she doesn't bring that much to the table, but again, I could be mistaken. And as a leader, she does have solid health and large attack multipliers, so maybe you could pair with A10 if you wanted, but of course there are stronger leaders out there. The next card is Allatu, and Alitu has become a surprisingly powerful card because she offers 7 effective skill boosts with her 4 natural skill boosts and 3 turn delay, along with super poison resist and L awakening and double 7 combo for reasonable amounts of personal damage. Furthermore, her active skill, while it does come with that 3 turn delay, will also change the whole board to fire, water, and dark orbs, so it still has some value afterwards because you can use a tricolor board to definitely finish off a given spawn. And the fact that she has devil typing means she can be a wonderfully viable alternative to Fortress Dragon or Dark Magician, and in fact I would probably prefer utilizing her over either of these two cards because with Dark Magician his delay does not have a strong secondary effect, so Allatu provides more, and Allatu technically provides more skill boost than Fortress Dragon, along with that super poisonous. While it may not necessarily be used as useful on Yugi teams, Poison Orbs still constitute dead space on your board, so just stopping those from occurring is helpful. And another aspect is that L Awakening tends to be quite difficult to find naturally on Yugi teams, so now you don't have to utilize an inherit that brings an L. Now, while all of that does sound promising, you just need to be aware that, well, there's not that much downside, to be honest. Like, she is doing exactly what is listed here. Like, she does provide you with the skill boost, a valuable board changer, some personal damage, and poison resist. As a whole, I would definitely swap out my Fortress Dragon on my my Nell Yugi teams and utilize Allatu instead. Next is Reincarnate Inahime, and Inahime will follow a similar template to the next two cards because they all will have 2 killers against a certain typing. They'll have a super resist and the ability to take the same latent killer as their awakening. So Inahime is exceptionally proficient at killing machines, which has tremendous relevance in Sure Realm. And alongside of that, they have a powerful active skill, which gives you a tricolor board changer, so always helpful, along with 5 turns of Awoken Bind Clear and regular binds, and 5 turns of Unable to Match Orb effects. So that is tremendously powerful in endgame content because those several counters are meaningful because they tend to be quite common occurrences in harder content. So you have a way to counter them effectively, you have tremendous personal damage if you're playing through Sure Realm, and you have a tricolor board changer afterwards. And the main drawbacks of Inahime, along with the other cards here, are relatively lower skill boosts, which means you have to think, is it truly worth running them over other cards who have low skill boosts? Because the thing is, generally speaking, cards with higher amounts of effective skill boosts tend to be mostly offering that. They might provide a little bit of other utility, but that's kind of it. And the cards that provide little skill boosts, or maybe like 0 to 2, tend to be those that either transform, or things like A10, or just very powerful, overtuned cards. So the hard part is, can you justify using Inahime instead of, say, Grandis? Because Grandis also has 2 skill boosts, but Grandis offers a tremendous amount of potential, especially once he transforms as well. So it's a bit of that balancing game. And of course, if you're not playing through Sure Realm, the machine killers definitely have less value overall. For Nene, she has Devil's killing potential instead of Machine, and then Super Blind instead of Super Jammer, which tends to be more helpful in a vacuum. But the biggest problem I find of Nene is that she is basically like a Virgil, but weaker in every aspect unless you needed that Bind, Awoken, Bind, Clear, or unable to match Orb Effect. But Virgil offers a tricolor board as well, RCV and attack buff or time buff. I don't know. He offers several buffs, much shorter cooldown, an extra Devil Killer, triple VDP, super blind resist as well, and 2 skill boosts before he transforms. Like, Nene doesn't beat Virgil really in any aspect, so if you have Virgil, Nene is not going to be contributing very much overall, and if you don't have Virgil, you have to think, is it truly worth running her as a card of relatively low skill boosts if you're playing, like, say, water transforming teams that want to obviously transform right away? Next is Uichi, and Uichi has 3 instead of 2 skill boosts, which makes her a little bit easier to slot on transforming teams, and she has the ability to kill god types with super poison resist. But at the same time, there are no truly stellar wood transforming teams that take advantage of her, which in turn can lower her overall effectiveness because if there's no good home to use her on, well, you're not going to be able to truly capitalize upon her value overall. And all 3 of these cards have an impractical leader skill because you cannot match 3 orbs or less, so you have to do 4 matches or more, and your damage reduction only happens when you get 2 or more of their respective colors for combos, and it's just difficult to do so overall. Tachibana and Nohime follow a similar template, except that Tachibana will not produce dark orbs with her rainbow board, and Nohime will not produce light orbs with their rainbow board. And the things that change are their resists. So Tachibana has Super Poison with a 20% Blind and Jammer. Nohime has Super Jammer with Blind and Poison. So in a vacuum, Tachibana comes out ahead because Super Poison tends to be much stronger. But for either of these cards, what really hinges upon their true value is whether or not you're able to match 80% of their specific resistances through efficient means. And the reason I say that is because if you don't have a way to hit that 80% efficiently, you're using something like, say, Super Resist instead, you're basically wasting those Awakening slots. And when a card has then 2 out of their 9 Awakenings being invalidated, it makes them much weaker of a card. So I feel like, at least in my head, I feel like a lot of their value hinges on whether you have, like, say, Samurai 3 weapons, or you have efficient ways to gain Blind or Jammer or Poison and Blind in Nohime's case effectively to like basically make those Awakenings truly stand out. But at the same time, it may be a little hard to do so. But either way, either one of these cards can function as potent rainbow subs because they have 4 skill boosts and really 5 effective skill boosts because that 75% damage reduction probably will mean you don't die to a hit because that's basically the equivalent of 4 times health. So you can greatly hasten the transform. You can basically transform your teams a little bit more easily, and they do have reasonably strong personal damage. They have the guard break to pierce through high defense, low health spawns, along with their resists, which are kind of unique. So in conclusion, I feel like these new evolutions and I guess buffs to these existing cards can be meaningful, but I feel like the biggest winners are Pandora along with Allatu because Alitu can function as a powerful skill boost solution for mono dark teams, and Pandora definitely can be an alternative Yugi pairing because she is devil typing and possibly much more easily available, so it may open up possibilities for less developed boxes or those players who missed the Yu-Gi-Oh! Collab. Either way, let me know what you think about these cards in the comments below. Are you excited for any one of these, or do you feel like you're going to just maybe use them once or twice and just kind of pass up on them as a whole? Either way, hopefully you'll have a fantastic day. I wish you the best luck in your own pad adventures, and happy puzzling.